All right, last game of the day before we get out of here. Let's stay here in LA. It's UCLA as a 6.5-point underdog at USC. All right, that seems fair, in particular with the way that UCLA has played in the last couple of weeks. Both of these teams have struggled this year. I don't think there's any doubt about it. USC has lost 4 of 5. UCLA has lost their last 2, including a terrible 10-point loss at home to Arizona State. That is a really bad look. And that loss in particular is why you're starting to hear some grumblings about Chip Kelly at UCLA. More on that in a little bit. This is the last game of the regular season for the Trojans, if you're not aware. They have a, quote, off week next week. And as a result of that off week at the end of the season, this is why they've had to play 9 Power 5 opponents in consecutive weeks. That just doesn't happen. You look at the schedules, that just does not happen. At most, like teams out of the SEC with their 8-game conference schedule are playing 2, sometimes 3 straight weeks against Power 5 opponents. Maybe in an off year 4. Sometimes in a 9-conference game schedule, you'll get a 5-week stretch against Power 5 opponents. But that's really it. Maybe, 6 is outrageous. They've played 9 straight Power 5 opponents. The schedule was never on their side, and yet their offense continued to churn along. The Trojans still are number 3 in the country in scoring offense, but we were never in question of that. We never questioned what they were going to be on the offensive side under Lincoln Riley. The entire question was what they were going to give Caleb Williams, what they were going to support Caleb Williams with on the defensive side. And guess what? They're 123rd in the country in scoring defense. That is exactly 120 spots lower than their offense. You wonder why Alex Grinch was let go? That's why Alex Grinch was let go. This defense, they held a team under 40 points for just the second time in the last 7 games last week. Happened to be Oregon. Oregon did not play great and still won handily over USC. And yet, meanwhile, UCLA has hit the skids. They've lost back-to-back games. It was Arizona, who's a good team, and then Arizona State, who's not particularly a great team. They scored a total in those 2 ball games under Chip Kelly, no less, 17 points in those 2 games. They've had massive quarterback issues. If you haven't followed UCLA, Colin Schlee, that's right, not Ned Schneebly from School of Rock, but Colin Schlee, that's right, I just dropped the School of Rock. Colin Schlee got his first start of the season last week against Arizona State. Struggled. Then he left with what was an apparent head injury. 4th stringer Chase Griffin entered the game. And again, people are upset at Chip Kelly. Unclear whether you're going to get Ethan Garbers or Dante Moore back. Now, they participated in warmups. You would think that they would maybe have a chance to play in this game, but totally unclear. Now, I think that one of those 2 guys is going to play. I think. And when one of those 2 guys plays and is healthy, this is a far different team than the team that's just struggling with depth with Ned Schneebly at quarterback. Colin Schlee, sorry. That's disrespectful. My apologies to you with Colin Schlee at quarterback. This is a team that's a top 15 rushing team in the country. 200 yards per game, over 200 yards per game. It's a pass rush that's 5th in the country in sacks per game at 3.6. That's not good, especially when you look at Caleb Williams holding the football. This is a team that you would think is going to rally around this sentiment about their head coach. And this is where I'll get into the head coach stuff. There is talk about UCLA wanting to move on from Chip Kelly. That to me is surprising. That is not evaluating your program with clear eyes. It just really isn't. It's not understanding what your program is and how you support it. UCLA is not a school that has supported their football program to the level that others do around the country. So let's just hold up 2 examples. Texas A&M and UCLA. Okay. Now, the expectations at both of those places, at least it seems, is similar. Compete for and win national, or maybe a national title, but certainly conference titles. Be a top-end program in your conference. Okay. So at Texas A&M, the fan base, the boosters, and the athletic department pour support in to make those expectations a reality. So when they fall short, they make wild decisions like firing a coach with $76 million left on his contract. But it's hard to argue because they have poured support in to making that happen. So their support and their expectations are aligned. And so when you fall short of those expectations, you can make a change. Now let's move over to UCLA. UCLA has similar, maybe not quite the expectations that A&M has, let's be fair, but similar. They want to, compete. We want to be a Pac-12 champion. We want to compete. Okay. You can't fill your stadium up with fans, and you certainly don't support the program to a level that would align with the expectations you have. So the people falling short are the support for UCLA, not the actual program. In fact, look at the program. 2021, 8-4. 2022, 9-4. And within a whisper of actually beating Caleb Williams and USC, and now it's a totally different year. That's possibly a 10-win year. Then you lose a quarterback that started 8 million games and is now in the National Football League. You get younger. You've got all this youth. And now all of a sudden, 6-5 is not good enough. I get it. The last week was bad. I get it. You can't lose by 10 to Arizona State. Colin Schlee started at quarterback. So UCLA, please evaluate your situation with more clear eyes. I'm not saying that Chip Kelly has to say. I'm just saying that it seems odd that there's all this talk a year after winning 9 games at UCLA. Winning 9 games at UCLA is surpassing what they do to support the program. So the expectations that now Chip Kelly has put on the program and that Chip Kelly actually achieved surpassed what they did in support. And now all of a sudden they're falling short? 6-5 is about how they support the program. I know that's going to come off as some sort of defense of Chip Kelly. I'm just thinking that that's a reality. That's a reality. And so we get back to the sleeper aspect of this game, UCLA and USC. So UCLA is now a dog. They're a 6.5-point dog. But if they get a quarterback that is more experienced, like Moore or like Garbers, with their run game against USC's porous defense, it's 123rd ranked scoring defense in the country, you've got to imagine that they're going to be able to move the football and score some points. That's generally what this matchup comes down to. Then you look at UCLA's defense, perfectly suited to face USC. Why? They get after the quarterback. That's one of the best pass rushes in college football. Like I said, 5th in the country in sacks per game with 3.6. So that's why I think UCLA is a nice little sleeper there. On the road, if you want to call it that, across town against USC. Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. And you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.